excuse me, I'm sorry, but what the fuck? Now I've become Kramnik.
Play a match, prove that you are like a very strong blitz player, and then it's gonna be okay.
I think I'm annoying. What opening do you recommend for black? What opening do you recommend? What opening book do you what book do you recommend? What course do you recommend? I am an opening contrarian. Well, formerly I put myself kind of squarely in the paranoid camp.
How do you fight tilt, by the way?
Insofar as there exists a way to hack your chess progress, I think it is. This has been one of the hardest transformations. Every syllable is just unspeakable. I had a Title Tuesday game 2 weeks ago with Kraft. He went 95.
Hey guys, I'm Greg Mustreader, and today we have a new podcast with the legendary Danya Naroditsky. One of the best people in the world of chess, in my opinion. Definitely one of the best, if not the best, chess commentator. Fascinating person, a very strong blitz player. And Danya, thank you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Greg. The first podcast we did was a great pleasure. The time just flew by. And, I don't do a lot of podcasts, but as I said in our first recording, just really appreciate your approach. Your questions are always very thought-provoking, so super happy to be here for part 2. And thanks to everybody who left such wholesome comments as well.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I asked you to leave 1,000 comments, and you almost did the job, but we did not have the patience to wait until 1,000, so we decided to have part 2 nonetheless. So let's dive into this. I have many questions for you this time regarding chess improvement, your tips on how to be better, because we have touched upon this last time, but definitely there are many other topics to dig into or to delve into, as ChatGPT would say. So, but first of all, let's discuss the chess news. I wanted to speak about something that happened just yesterday. As of the time of the recording, it will several days will have passed by the upload, but I don't think that something will change significantly. So there has been a cheating scandal, a new cheating scandal in chess over the board, which is probably one of the largest cheating scandals ever, considering the rating of the person involved. What are your emotions towards this? Can you please tell me what you think?
Yeah, considering the ratings and considering the atmosphere, it's just what we needed right now is an OTB cheating scandal to go full circle. Because, some of the first ever cheating scandals, before online chess was a thing since the late 90s. But obviously, online chess wasn't the main arena. And so the first cheating scandal that I remember was the 2006 World Open cheating scandal in Philadelphia. And I won't get into it right now, but basically this 2200 no name beat a bunch of GMs using, I think, an early version of Bluetooth. Yeah, 2006. That's 1 year before the first iPhone came out. So that is what used to be on people's radar. And it seems everybody's forgotten that there is something called over-the-board chess. And that is the arena which people were mainly concerned about. I feel like I've been living in the Matrix the last few days, Greg. Some crazy coincidences have been happening to me. And I happened to be on chess.com right before going to sleep when this article came out. This was early in the morning. So I caught it, 10 minutes after it was published. And I decided to go to sleep anyway, not to stay up for the inevitable explosion on Reddit and Twitter by all the luminaries, the chess luminaries, publicly acknowledged and also self-pronounced. But yeah, once I woke up on the other end, on the other side, I should say, I kind of read the public reaction. I was completely shocked. This whole situation makes absolutely zero sense. But I want to let you kind of direct, because I'm sure, I saw you recorded a video on it, so I don't want to repeat what research you've already done, I'm sure. But it is shocking and horrifying.
Yes, I agree about the shocking part. And I did not do any deep research. I didn't have much time. The video was just my fresh impressions. I'll link it below for everyone interested. I wanted to ask you whether you think that indeed OTB cheating is more widespread than we thought. Because as you know, I've spoken to many prominent players, yourself included, on and off the podcast, and some of them are more let's say, paranoid, not necessarily in a bad word, in a bad sense. Others say that over the board, probably it's practically non-existent. So where do you put yourself in this spectrum?
Well, formerly, I put myself kind of squarely in the paranoid camp. And by formerly, I mean, 7-8 years ago, which is basically probably should be labeled BCE, before Common Era. This is like the dark ages of chess at 2016, 2017. But what I really want to start with is telling kind of newer chess fans that concerns over OTB cheating, as I implied in my earlier soliloquy, are not new. And I remember distinctly in 2011, I played in a tournament in the Netherlands in Groningen. And I was an IM at the time, and I played a 2000 rated kid who was doing really well in the tournament. And I was already concerned before the game, having looked at his previous games at the tournament. And during the game, it was the classic, right? He was getting up every single move. He was making a move, getting up. And he was going out of the small playing hall, presumably to the bathroom. So I had that it's like this indescribable lump in your throat when you feel like somebody might be doing something against you. It's a horrible feeling. I want to get back to this later in the podcast, but you cannot play properly if you think your opponent is cheating. If you even have the inkling of suspicion, that's all that you can think about. It's like when you're, I don't know, when you're a kid and your tooth falls out and or you're 90 years old and your tooth falls out, your tongue searches for that place. It's like you cannot redirect your attention back to the game. And he actually rattled off a bunch of theory. He actually played an amazing game. The game ended in a draw, but I ended up making a move quickly and following him to the bathroom at some point, which I'm not proud of. And I don't think that he was cheating. He's a talented kid. He later became an IM. We played again 2 years later. And I won that game. But I think that this paranoia is kind of inherent in a chess player when he becomes, I don't know why the cynicism always tends to set in the stronger you become. Maybe it's tied into ego. But the moral of the story is that this has been on my radar for a very long time. 2011, 2012, there were already kind of paranoid people, and this was already a concern that was being discussed. I think that some chess fans might believe that this is a new thing, that suddenly this has come to the foreground. But those who have inhabited the chess sphere for longer know that it's just that this has now gained more publicity with, what's been going on with Kramnik and the explosion of online chess and chess in general. But I'm kind of going in circles. To answer your question, which was, what my thoughts are in general, where I put myself, previously in the paranoid camp, but I think the sort of Overton window of discussing chess cheating has shifted much more to the paranoid direction. And so I was where I was previously, which is in the, I don't know what the extent of cheating is. I don't understand how you could know. I don't know how anybody could claim with certainty. The people say, 50% of Title Tuesday players are cheating. Oh, no, 23%. No, I know. How can you know? What are the grounds on which you're basing these confident numbers? I think the only reasonable statement is, I don't know. And but clearly the problem is pretty widespread. As for OTB cheating, what I'm most curious about, Greg, is what are the methods? Because what shocks me about the Shevchenko incident is it's almost like it was out of a cartoon or the Onion.
Yeah.
If this was an Onion headline, top chess grandmaster found cheating again with a phone taped to the underside of his toilet, and the cleaner found the phone and another phone was brought in and taped the same way. What the heck? Is this for real? This almost makes me believe that, I would not believe that this is a real story, that a GM who wanted to cheat, shame on that person, major shame on that person, would decide to cheat in literally the method that has existed since the actual Dark Ages and the easiest one to detect. Because any GM will get suspicious already from the opening when his opponent is getting up and leaving for 10 minutes, 5 times a game. Like Dr. Bassem, first thing you think is, oh my gosh, does he have stomach problems? Does he need help? And if you do, then you should resign the game or tell your opponent or offer a draw or whatever. But, once you realize your opponent isn't acting like they've got stomach problems, then I'm suspicious as heck. And I've been in those shoes. So I guess to conclude, the fact that nobody knows what the extent of the problem is really scary. It is definitely a serious issue. And unfortunately, we have seen that GMs who are supposed to carry the banner of, fairness in chess. Unfortunately, many of them are all too willing to forfeit those lofty ambitions of being an ambassador for justice and fairness above all else, and to cheat. And that's awful. At the same time, I myself am currently on the receiving end of, several lines of attack by a certain individual. So I think it's extremely important to hold ourselves to innocent until proven guilty standards, and to be acting in good faith, and to understand that the chess atmosphere is shifting in terms of who is allowed to be good at chess and how people improve and announce themselves on the chess scene. So we need to factor all of that in, the fact that the chess world is changing. But there is no question that, FIDE needs to put together their heads with chess.com. Like, measures have to be taken. There's no question that the problem exists and is probably growing. As for the extent of it, I don't think that we have enough facts to know.
At the end of this episode, me and Danya discuss the chess openings. He says that they are much more important than many people think, and even beginners should study them. It's one of the best ways to improve and gain rating. Today's episode is sponsored by Chessbook. It's a great tool that I've recently discovered. I myself reached out to them, and they agreed to support the podcast. This tool is both for beginners and for professionals. Even grandmasters use it. I'll tell you in a second about a cool insight that I've learned thanks to Chessbook that will help me score more points. You should try it out. The link will be in the description of the video and the audio version of the podcast. It shows you the most important plans and ideas in any opening. It shows which lines people at your level are most likely to play, so that you can prepare better for these lines. It helps you memorize these lines better. It even says which lines are the sharpest, which is an important factor for me. Another great feature is that you're able to connect your chess.com or Lichess account to Chessbook. After this, it shares some cool insights so that you know which lines suit you best. For example, I've learned that I score much better than my elo when playing white against the Caro Khan, so I probably should stick to my setup against it, which I borrowed from Magnus Carlsen. If you're interested, drop a comment and I'll make a video on this. All the features I've mentioned are free, but if you want to go further and create a large repertoire of hundreds of moves, it's just $8 per month. Don't forget to check out Chessbook. The link is in the description. It's chessbook.com/mustreader.
Yeah, that's a very balanced take. I wish everyone discussed the situation in a similar manner, not making making numbers up and stuff like this. We will discuss definitely accusations or allegations, or I don't know what word would Kramnik use against you.
Accusations, but not accusations. Yeah.
Yeah. So not accusations against you. We'll discuss them. But first of all, what do you think should the punishment be for OTB cheating? There is currently a discussion. I think Igor Rausis got stripped of his GM title, the guy who got caught on the toilet using the same method, and he probably was banned from playing for some years, but I don't remember the exact number of years. So what should be the punishment in your opinion?
Again, I think that I think there are topics here where anyone acting in good faith should have the same opinion. And then there are topics within the sphere of cheating where there's room for discussion and differing opinions. This is probably the second type of question, what the punishment should be. I err on the side of, I think the method of preventing littering in the US, like how do authorities disincentivize people from throwing towels and cigarette butts onto the side of the road, which can be very dangerous, right? If there are objects on the freeway and you drive through them, it can cause huge accidents. And they do it by raising the fine to something ridiculous. So are the chances that you're caught littering are very low. The chances that it will be a cop seeing you throw your used sandwich wrapper out of the window are very low. But in the event that they do, the punishment is a huge amount of money. You can face massive repercussions. One other story, my physics teacher in 11th grade did something funny. So he assigned a lab write-up every week. You had to write up a report of the lab that you did. But he only collected 2 lab notebooks out of 60 per week. But everybody was so terrified that their lab notebook would be the one selected that everybody always did the lab write-up. It worked perfectly. And let me tell you, even if you chose 1 lab notebook, 1 out of 60, no. Those chances are, you do not want to take those chances and skimp on something that will take you a few hours. So I think that the punishment should be, if you're a GM who cheats or a title player in general, you should be stripped of the title. And of course, in that case, the cheating should be like basically provable. Like it should be provable beyond any reasonable doubt. You should have a chance to defend yourself. Like there should be a process. But if it's established that you cheated over the board using an engine, or an accomplice who was using an engine, your title should be stripped. You should be banned from FIDE competitions, maybe for life. I mean, maybe for something like 10 years. But I mean, over the board cheating in a money tournament, if you're a title player, you're GM especially, there's no excuse for that period. And that is just abominable behavior that it just corrodes the honesty on which the game is built. Obviously, there's the question of age. And if you're an untitled player, if you're an untitled kid, just thinking about it using common sense, like it feels like a kid should probably get a second chance if they understand the gravity of what they did.
Yeah.
So I think that for title players, the punishment should be very strict. Otherwise, for a regular amateur tournament, that can be discussed, but some sort of ban for a certain period of time, and probably for like very young kids, some sort of separate process where you can give them a second chance, provided the parents take matters into their own hands, should be established. So there should be a sliding scale with the punishment being most severe for title players in the event that the cheating is well established.
Yeah, very, very reasonable. Okay, we'll see how the Shevchenko case unfolds. Maybe, I think there is a tiniest chance that he was set up. Maybe it wasn't his phone after all. I doubt it, but let's see.
But the fact should come out. I mean, the people who are it's shocking to me, Greg. Sorry to interrupt, but at least we should wait a few days because this story it's outlandish, and I don't think people realize, the average chess fan realizes just how crazy it is that a 2670 decides to destroy his life over in the grand scheme of things, meaningless tournament. I mean, if it happened in the Olympiad, I could understand. Again, when I say I could understand, I don't mean I could understand the morality of this action. It's just as abominable. I can understand what goes through someone's brain. But, a league game where you're going in like the opening and you're standing by the stall when there are other free stalls, every GM knows that the moment someone observes you doing that, they think you're cheating. So it smells very weird to me. Right now, it looks like it was his phone, but let's wait for the facts to come out. And I really want to encourage people to put their emotions aside. Like, we really need, as a chess society, both fans and title players, to stop just like descending into this mindless, mentality of just making these emotional pronouncements, because definitely more facts will come out. If he cheated, then I think he should be punished to the highest possible degree, of course.
Let's wait and see. And I wanted, of course, to discuss your storyline with Kramnik, another guest of my podcast, by the way. I've discussed with him for more than 2 hours his theories on online cheating. I don't agree with him in many respects, but I think that open dialogue is important in this manner. And recently he has gone after you. He has implied that there is something fishy about your high online blitz rating. He also promised to present some research. I haven't seen any, but maybe at the date of this recording, he records something also on his channel. I don't know. I wanted to ask you about your emotions in this, because obviously Kramnik is also a legend to you. You probably grew up also studying his games. What do you think about what he's doing nowadays? Not only in respect of yourself, but of course, a personal aspect is also important.
That's a good question, and I know we want to get to some of the chess educational stuff, and a lot of people might be jaded on this topic. So I'll try to keep it concise within like 5 minutes or so. There's a lot of emotions in my head. I would be lying if I said that this didn't affect my emotional state. Yes, I'm angry because first and foremost, everything that he is implying and insinuating, and okay, I will do him the courtesy of taking him at his word that he is not accusing me of cheating, even though this is, in my opinion, a great act of moral disingenuity and, verbal manipulation from someone who knows exactly what they're doing and does not have the guts to say what they truly think. For, the amount of hypocrisy just, and every syllable is just unspeakable. So I'm going to take him at his word. But these not accusations, they make me really sad. First and foremost, they make me angry because I have never cheated. cheating in a money tournament is, to me, as I just revealed, it is unthinkable. And because I am sensitive to the fact that my blitz performance is perhaps, and one could totally reasonably allege, much, much higher than my classical rating. And as I was saying at the very start, when I went on Levitov, when Kramnik started his campaign, I was largely on his side. I thought he was saying a lot of reasonable things, and I'll point some of them out. But one of them is that, if you're a Naroditsky or a Martinez, and, a top GM says, well, we need a little bit of meat on the bone here. Can you show, can you put us at ease, that your blitz results have an alternate explanation to them? Absolutely. And that's part of the reason that I try my best to stream at least one Title Tuesday a week. I prefer to play Title Tuesday off stream, but I have streamed it now for over a year. I have played several Title Tuesdays on a fair play call with 2 cameras. I have played several of them with an alibi that I specifically requested to have that information handy. I have done everything I could, even on my own initiative, to make sure that the top players are put at ease. And for example, when Jan Nepomniachtchi started insinuating on his stream that I was cheating against him in our Title Tuesday game a couple of weeks ago, I wrote him a message. I thought it was a courteous message. He replied courteously. I put at ease every single one of his concerns one by one, showing him that the position after move 20 was reached in a classical game I had a year ago, and in a game I played against Fabi in the US Championship, which I won. Explaining my rationale with all the other moves. Like, I did my very, very best in good faith to put the top players at ease because I get their concerns. And I try to tell the fans on my stream, whose support I really appreciate, that, sometimes they get angry, I think, on my behalf, but it's not the wrong thing, because the fact that someone has suspicions about me, I think, is actually reasonable in and of itself. And I don't take it personally. Okay. I mean, Kramnik has made that clear. Again, I take him at his word. It's not personal. Fine. Okay. My qualms toward his perspective aren't personal either, but it becomes personal when your morality and your very basic morals are constantly put into question. And so sadness has been the prevailing emotion, Greg, because Kramnik actually was the first Super GM that I met. And I'll send you after our show a photo that's publicly available of me with Kramnik when I was I think 13 years old. This was 2009 at the Tall Memorial in Moscow. 2008. I visited with my parents. I was way too shy, but my mom asked Vladimir Borisovich for a photo with me after he finished analyzing his postmortem with Leko. And he was very gracious. And it's one of the photos that made me smile. Also, something that made me smile, our classical game in 2015 in Qatar. He was indeed one of the heroes of chess, one of the giants of chess that I looked up to. And even as a GM in 2014, we played a rapid game. My mom was like, you got to take another photo with Kramnik for our album. I was too shy to approach him because I didn't want to take up any of his time. So this is someone that I hold in the highest regard. I think I made that clear in my Levitov appearance. And in return, Kramnik recorded a reaction to which I respectfully very much disagree with. And what makes me angry, Greg, is some of the comments, and I know that you can't take trolls seriously, but even the video that Kramnik made yesterday, part 1, and I'm awaiting part 2 with bated breath. And I just want to go through this very briefly, and then I'll conclude my rant here. In part 1, he sets the table, suggesting that my FIDE Blitz rating is not essentially, but he calls it fake. And the product of farming these Charlotte events. I'm sure you could probably paint the context on your own, so I won't bore the chat with the details. But the worst thing is that he has resorted to lies. He went from saying things that are untrue, suggesting that I have high accuracies without looking even at the games, suggesting that it's weird I beat Levon Aronian when I beat him over the board in a Blitz tournament a couple months ago, which I'll get to in a second, when he blundered a piece on move 8, ignoring all of the evidence to the contrary. And I'm very much awaiting for him to incriminate himself, proverbially speaking, and publish all of these statistics, because he might be surprised to see that the reason I'm ignoring his fake offers of a match, which are, of course, laughable, is because I have nothing to hide. And he can release all the statistics he wants. I look upon them with amusement. But last thing, Greg, this last video, I have a couple of quotes just to show people why this is so frustrating for me. Here's a couple of quotes from that first part of the video. He says, Danya played almost 100 games. He discusses my FIDE Blitz rating climb from 2630 to 2707. He chooses a couple of sample tournaments and claims that I am playing in these tournaments because FIDE instituted this minimum rating gain rule. Can I just finish this thought? Or Greg, if you want to move on and you think I've said enough, I can pause here.
Please continue.
So this is already a lie, easily disproven. These Charlotte tournaments are held monthly. They're held by the Charlotte Chess Center. Yes, I am a coach of the Chess Center. I'm not the head coach. I'm the head coach of the top group of kids rated over 2,000, together with Sasha Bortnik. But these monthly tournaments are held at the center. There's also Blitz tournaments associated with the big open tournaments in Charlotte. There will be the U.S. Masters Blitz tournament. I assume Fabiano Caruana will be playing in that tournament. Perhaps he thinks that tournament will also be legitimate. I don't know. But he says that I play in these tournaments because of the minimum rating gain. But that minimum rating gain rule was established, I think, 6 months ago. And if you look at my tournament rating history before 6 months ago, I played in those tournaments all the same. I play in the Charlotte tournaments for one simple reason. I love Blitz. I have nothing to gain from those tournaments. I have nothing to gain from raising my FIDE Blitz rating to 2,700 or 3,700, literally nothing. If you look at my American rating tournament history, he might find that I play just as many events that are not FIDE Blitz rated because, again, I know it's a mind-boggling thought, I love Blitz. So charging me with a high crime of playing in a Blitz tournament in my own city, when this tournament is open to anybody, he can fly over to Charlotte, direct flights from London. He can play in the tournament. Magnus could come. I would love for them to come and play. And if he clicked on any tournaments other than the ones that he cherry-picked to show the chat, for example, he might find in April of 2024, I quote from him directly, just a moment, he should beat any serious player over the board. Well, if you look at my highest rating gain, just a second, I closed my own FIDE page here. Now I have it open again. There, April 2024, I flew to St. Louis and played the 2024 American Cup Blitz. Last 3 rounds, I beat Daria Schwierz, Ray Robson, and then Levon Aronian in the last round with Black to get second place. I also beat an Indian GM earlier in the tournament. In one of the Charlotte tournaments, I played 3 GMs in a row. Some of my games with Bortnik have been decisive. And finally, another lie, he claims that there is no record of any of the Charlotte Blitz games. Despite his extensive online research. All you have to do is go to the Charlotte Chess Center YouTube page to find over a dozen recorded Blitz games with a board superimposed with Bortnik, with an NM, with the kids from the early rounds. Literally, there are probably 15 or 20 of these Blitz and Rapid games that I've played through the months. And these are flat out lies. And what they're causing is a lot of hate in the comments. Somebody called me the Ted Bundy of chess, and there's likes on that post. And listen, if you watch my stream or my content and you don't like me or you think I'm fake or annoying, I think I'm annoying. I think I'm annoying, the most annoying person on earth, right? But that's your prerogative to make a judgment. But when people make those judgments based off of someone acting in bad faith and lying and claiming that I am now a coward or have incriminated myself because I don't play a match with him for 50K, when if I don't win that match by 40 points or whatever, that means that I am a cheater. The fact that I have to push back on this and the fact that Vladimir Borisovich is the one making these claims, it blows my mind. It makes me terribly sad. And, I will never make it personal. I will never cuss him out. That's not my style. I have been very careful on my stream to try to get people to not hate on him or call him names. I don't think that he's deserving of that. And as I said, a lot of the things that he said early on in his Levitov appearances, I agree with. Right, like some of the measures that he proposed, but he has abandoned all of that and now has moved on to pointing a finger at everybody. Yeah, he called out Shevchenko. Guess what? A broken clock is right twice a day. But it's actually corrupted our dialogue on cheating, Greg. The last thing I'll say, I'll close with this. This is the most frustrating thing of all. Now, when I play a 2,500 Entitled Tuesday who destroys me, spending 3 seconds per move, and I reveal even the slightest suspicion, now I've become Kramnik. Oh, you're acting like Kramnik. Right, that's the overwhelming reaction. So it's sad that the opposite effect has ensued from this campaign. And I really hope that one day he realizes the error in his ways, because the main reason that this is abominable to me is because he's wrong. Right, it's not because of the way he's doing this. He is wrong about me. I have never cheated. I do not cheat. When I played Magnus a couple of days ago, I'm now scared. I was up 6-2 in the match. I took out my phone. I started filming both of my monitors. I have 3 videos on my phone showing my monitors, showing that I didn't install a plugin or whatever, because I'd rather jump out of a window. And you can talk to any of my coaches, most of whom he knows. He knows Psakis. any top American players. I've played them OTB a gazillion times in casual settings and have shown exactly the same level. So, I'm not going to file a lawsuit or whatever. I have too much respect for him. And all I ever wanted was, for the facts to be acknowledged. For it to be acknowledged that I've done my best to dispel any suspicions. But when, when someone ignores that, then he's acting in bad faith. And if he's acting in bad faith, there's just no reason to engage anymore, which is just sad. I hope people find that reasonable.
Yeah, I agree that this is all very sad. And
can I add one last thing, Greg? One last thing, I promise.
Sure.
The sad thing is that some people don't seem capable of holding these two things in their mind, which is that cheating, it's an existential problem. And this is, I think, a Mott-Bailey fallacy. I learned this philosophical term recently, and I think it's very applicable. It's when you make 2 points. One of them is non-controversial and the other is super controversial. So for example, I don't know, like stealing is bad, therefore we should shoot anybody who steals like a piece of broccoli from a grocery store. You're like, wait, we should shoot, it shouldn't be punishable by murder. So you're saying stealing is good? No, I'm saying stealing is bad, but the punishment should fit the crime. Kramnik is kind of claiming, okay, chess cheating is an existential problem and it's much more widespread than naive people suggest. Therefore, the onus should be on anybody I point a finger to as the grand inquisitor of chess cheating to, beg at my doorstep for the pardon and for innocence. So that second part is obviously very wrong. We should be very cognizant of our approach. But the first part is, to my eye, not very controversial. I think most chess fans acknowledge that, we need to do more about cheating. Chess.com is not a saint in this matter. By Danny's own admission, anti-cheating methods need to evolve. We need to get our heads out of the sand and out of our asses and realize that the rating next to your name doesn't mean you can't cheat. All of that is true, but let's not go crazy.
Let's not go crazy indeed. Last question on this topic. You mentioned that Kramnik's offer of a match is laughable and that you will have to win by a huge margin for him to be disproven, something like that. This is the reason you are not accepting it, or why? Because this is also in the eyes of many viewers and many Kramnik fans, I think this supports his allegations, because you are refusing to play a match, and he says, play a match, prove that you are a very strong blitz player, and then it's gonna be okay. And you are ignoring his offer.
I did kind of respond to his offer on my stream, and I kind of took this middle road because, okay, I guess I'll explain it from my perspective. First of all, if he flew to Charlotte right now and he made a tweet like, here I am at the Charlotte Chess Center, yo, come to Papa. If I'm in town, I'm coming to the Chess Center and we can play all day and all night. Off camera, we can play 24 hours, 3+0, 3+2, whatever he wants. He can fly to Charlotte on his own dime. I'll pick him up at the airport. Although Topalov has been in my car, so I don't know if Kramnik will trust me. True story. Topalov taught at the Charlotte camp this past year, but it would be my honor to play him under any normal circumstances. But I want people to put themselves in my shoes. First of all, to suggest that it's normal to demand that someone puts up $50,000 of their own money. Now, most people know that I have done well for myself. I have developed a brand, and I'm extremely privileged to be in a position where I can do chess and make a good living. But I'm sorry, but the suggestion that $50K, I can just throw it out. And the worst part is, and this is why I'm angry about this, it's because of his manipulation. And this is the worst part. He suggests that because our online record is what it is, I forget what it is, it's like 23-11. And he claims that in 3+2, I have a better record, in 3+1, he has a better record against me than in 3+2. Now, everybody who knows me knows that is already absurd to suggest that I would do better in 3+2. If the increment was -5 seconds, I'd be happy. Okay? I much prefer 3+1 to 3+2. Now, everybody also knows full well that when you think someone is cheating, you play like shit against them. And Kramnik has played like shit against me in our non-Title Tuesday games for like the last 15 games. Anybody can open those games and look. In our last game, in our last match that we played, he disconnected on move 11 of a Jabava London where I played obvious moves and he was already lost, and then blocked me. So before I would even respond to that match, I would like to know why he blocked me, and I'd like to hear from him that the unreliable Geneva internet was to blame for that disconnection rather than his conviction that I was cheating. And if he thinks I'm cheating, he should come out and say it. And then I would take him a little bit more seriously rather than this crazy dance that's supposed to gaslight me into first acknowledging, oh, no, I'm not saying he's definitely not accusing me, right? This whole verbal dance is putting the onus on me. And this to me is ridiculous. But the other thing is, let's say that he came forward with a sponsor or even offered a match for free formally. I would accept it under any normal circumstances. But from my perspective, this is not an offer made in good faith because he is saying that it should be easy for me to beat him. Excuse me? I'm sorry, but what the fuck? Because this guy got third place at the 2019 FIDE World Blitz Championship. Are we 3 years old here? Do we not realize why he's saying what he's saying? He's saying that to manipulate the chat. And I have had people on my stream saying, how could you not accept? Right? Especially, the Russian speaking community. Look at this clown, won't accept $50,000 free dollars against Vladimir Kramnik, former 2800, the guy who beat Kasparov. So he's degraded that much in 5 years that it's easy for me to beat him. Did people not see his match against Jose? Right now, I think I would be the favorite in a long match, but perhaps a slim favorite. I never claimed that I'm a 2700 FIDE Blitz player. I'm sorry that that's my rating, and I would be the first to dispute that FIDE rating gain rule. I'm happy to gain 0 points from any of my wins. I will still continue to play. I think my real FIDE Blitz strength is probably, high 2600s. But I think the match would be close, and anybody with a brain, of which there seem to be few people remaining, would acknowledge that, yeah, this would be a close match. But the way that it's framed, if I even win in a close match, then it just provides ammunition, which I would be very proud of, by the way. He would just go on forever, and he would say that this proves or this lends credence to his suspicions all along. And that is crazy. I mean, that is just, I don't have the words in the English language to describe this, but this is some sort of Salem witch trial. This is a random, spontaneous Spanish Inquisition. And, the fact that I declined the match against Vladimir to Torquemada, now makes me a cheater. And if I play and don't win him by a large enough margin, that makes me a cheater. When we're talking about a former world champion, I can't believe that this is what people are actually thinking, Greg. And again, just to be clear, I'm happy to play him off camera. I'm happy to play him in just an online match if he unblocks me. But he is not behaving in a decent manner. And as much as I respect him as a former world champion, I still recommend his Chessable course to my students. They all have it. I think that he's a fantastic chess educator. I will agree with a lot of his points, even now. And I will insist to every one of the members of my chat not to make it personal. I will call out any hate. I don't like, the fact that Hikaru cussed him out. That's bad, but I can understand it because, Hikaru got really angry, and I'm angry, and this was not an offer made in good faith. So that's kind of what I'll say. If he unblocks me and challenges me right now, I'll pause the podcast, I'll accept, and I'll play any day of the week.
Yeah, thank you for your honesty, and I feel the emotion.
Sorry to be so fired up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfectly understandable. As a lawyer formerly by education and by professional background, I find it very unusual that Kramnik is both the prosecutor and the judge and the person who is performing the test of the suspected person under such circumstances in a match. So yeah, this feels very weird. Although as content, it would have been great. Of course, I watched the matches with Jaspam. But I agree with you.
I thought about it. Trust me, I didn't say no in a second. I thought about it. I weighed the pros and cons, but also, I'm putting my mental health over everything because, this has not been an easy ride, and I wouldn't be able to take the stress. Would just consume me. And I don't know if I don't think that's what people want because there's other aspects of my chess personality that I want to develop. Blitz isn't even the main thing. I do this for fun. I literally play all day, casual games. And I don't care what my rating is. It's 2,900 some days when I'm watching a, podcast on like Michael Jordan on the other monitor. And on other days I focus and I'm like, let's get my rating up and it's 3,200. I don't care. So, to me, this just isn't the main part of my chess development, even though now I'm taking a break from commentary and I'm getting more into it.
And you have indeed risen to one of the top places in the leaderboard. Last time we spoke, you said that your goal is to be like at the very top of the world the world of Blitz. So how's it going? Do you think that you've improved, judging by your rating gain? Or have you just, as you already said, started paying more attention, playing with more like focus?
Well, there's a couple things. I think that I made a bit of a breakthrough after the Olympiad because, first of all, my online chess.com rating, it's the only metric that I have to judge my strength other than FIDE Blitz. And I will be playing the World Blitz in New York, but with a shortened number of rounds. I mean, that's not a large sample size. Sad for me, of course. I'll try to make the top 8. But I did the second half of the Olympiad commentary, and that was a tough tournament to commentate. Hess and I were locked into the analysis. We were analyzing for hours without the engine, and we were focused a lot on Gukesh's games, Aragaisi's games, obviously Team India, huge round of applause. It was an honor to cover their games, but it actually taught me a lot. And I tried to implement some of the stuff that I observed in their games and apply it to my thinking in Blitz games. And I had a match with Nihal that I played like right after the last round had concluded, and I was like falling asleep the whole coverage. And then Nihal challenges me, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sleep for like 800 hours, but before I go into hibernation, let's just lose a couple games. And barely seeing the board, like I went almost 50%. And there was just something that, there was like a light bulb that went off. And ever since then, I think at my peak, I'm playing pretty well. I'm showing more consistent results in Title Tuesday. I had a couple of near wins. I am the ultimate choke artist, and this is one of the issues that we can go into. But I've just tried to play in a more rounded fashion. I've put the emphasis on openings. And right now, my biggest roadblock is my openings with black against 1e4 suck. And this is actually, I think, what's causing me to have some drops. I don't have enough weapons with white, so I think I need to patch up my openings. But I think my play has become more positional. And I'm consciously going to more endgames, consciously kind of embracing boring positions more. I think that a lot of these top guys like Nihal, Firouzja, they don't force the action. And I realized how much that was impacting my play negatively, is constantly trying to artificially channel the game into the position that I like. Okay, well, what about playing a position that they like? The pieces move the same way. And so I'm forcing myself to branch out in my openings, and I'm trying to expand my general horizons in chess and emulating the thought process that I observe in, the top guys whose level I will never reach. But it's helped me. I'm still fluctuating wildly, Greg. I'm, currently on pretty good form, close to 3,200, but I've got a very long road ahead.
Well, this is very interesting. The fact that you got inspired and learned something while commentating the games of the Indian team. Can you share some specifics? What exactly did you pick up there?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, from the perspective of the underdog, what mistakes did I see in the opponents of, let's say, Gukesh and Aragaisi? Well, the last round was interesting. Arjun playing, India plays Slovenia. Aragaisi plays Jan Subel, GM from Slovenia. And shout out to them, they did amazing. But Aragaisi played a Scandi, and Subel knew what to do. He played a dubious Queen d6 Scandi. The guy rattles off, I don't know if this chessable line or whatever, but he gets a plus over minus position. And if he makes one right move at the right moment, g3, to prepare bishop f4, and okay, Naroditsky, you're sitting in your air-conditioned office with 2 monitors and Stockfish on one and Leela on the other. I mean, I think you can ask Vladimir Borisovich which engines he thinks I prefer, but okay, yeah, it's easy for you to say, but still, this is a findable move. And if Subel was playing a fellow 2500, he would have found it. And Black's position is horrible. This is borderline positionally lost. I played this out with my students, Black can't move. But he didn't find the move. The position went from much, much better to slightly better to equal to worse in 5 moves. And I realized that the most important thing is when I'm playing the top guys like Magnus, if I think I see a good move or if I think I see a promising continuation, to always play it, right? Of course, to double check and to make sure that there's no surface level trap. But if I think that there's a good continuation, never to say, oh, I'm playing Magnus, he probably saw this, because it's a win-win. A lot of the times they're bluffing. Like when I played Levon in Title Tuesday and he hung that piece, he played instantly. And I thought, my first instinct was, he knows this is prep, I can resign already. It's like the scene from, the 12 Stulyev, 12 chairs, when the con artist starts blundering his pieces and they're like, save face by resigning. It's like, no, let me take this piece and either I'm wrong and he'll punish me and I'll that'll contribute to my thought process. I'll understand what misevaluation I made, or they're bluffing and I'm going to actually get a really good position. So I've just gotten more confident in making the move. If my voice inside my head says play this move, I will usually play it. Whereas earlier I was doing a lot more second guessing, but at the same time, I am actually playing slower. So I'm trusting my instinct, but in critical moments, I am putting more emphasis on my calculation. Whereas earlier I was putting more emphasis on flagging. I think anybody who watches my Blitz games recently can see that I'm actually getting to time pressure. I'm getting flagged some of the time, but I'm really trying to force myself when I'm in decent form to calculate as if it were a classical game sometimes. So, and I'm trying to cut out the tilt sessions. You know, the sessions where I'm tired and I know I need to stop and I end up playing for 6 hours and dropping 300 points. Or the sessions where I'm watching like, a Netflix show. And I'm like, why am I also playing Blitz? Like, this is stupid. Like, just watch the show or cut the crap and just play Blitz, right? But that like mindless time killing that I used to do in college, which was justified then, I realized that my brand is on the line when I play Blitz. So I'm just trying to force myself to take it a little bit more seriously. I hope that's not too general. And that's just a few of the things.
Yeah, very, very instructive. Thank you. I also was impressed by that Queen D6 Scandinavian game. How easily he turned it around, like very impressive stuff from Arjun. So thank you for sharing the insights. How do you fight tilt, by the way? Because this is like a topic that probably all viewers can relate to. Anyone who watches us who is like 800 rated or 2800 rated, they all suffer from tilt. What are your life hacks?
It's a journey of personal transformation, and I'll start with a story. I've had something of a personal transformation with sort of my attitude toward tilt, and I think some of the viewers might be smiling knowingly and think, I'm not buying the new Daniel facade from his speedrun videos, the like all smiles, the gracious, I don't think my opponent cheated. No, I know the monster that's sitting inside, Ted Bundy, apparently. But no, I really have, I think, changed in profound ways, and I'm proud of this transformation, and I'm only at the beginning of it, but a journey of a million miles begins with a single step. So when I first started kind of playing online seriously and starting to play in like bullet championships, this was college, my tilt was out of control. And you can find and superimpose some clips if you want on YouTube. I don't mind. I watch them on my own. They're funny. And that was only the tip of the iceberg, because every time that I'd have a bad result, I remember this bullet championship I played, one of the first ones chess.com organized. I was playing Bortnik, and I woke up late. The internet in my dorm wasn't working well, so I had to run with my computer to like the library, and I like found a room, and I set up just like a minute before it starts. I'm not showered, and I like blunder a piece early on, and I took my mouse and I throw it against the wall. And when I got it back, I saw that it wasn't broken enough. So I also decided to kick it like a soccer ball, because when you start breaking stuff, you got to make sure it's broken. You got to make it worth your while, right? You can't break it a little bit and then hear like a little rattle. You got to like smash that thing to bits. And that was a watershed moment, because my friend, who's also a moderator on my stream, he called me, and I owe a big debt of gratitude to him. And he staged like a phone intervention. And he told me that like, I can't change you internally. You'll always be, the most competitive, mofo on earth. And I still am. I can't do anything about that. I think most GMs are. But you can do something about the way that you react, at the very least externally, because in terms of my stream in the early days, this behavior was attracting trolls, a lot of trolls, and people who were watching my stream just to see me rage because it was happening so frequently. And that was really bad, because people were encouraging me. And that, of course, was feeding the vicious cycle where I would lose a game and the trolls would start spamming I want to see breaking mouse. And there'd be more viewers when I would do that. So it was like a really bad cycle, and it corresponded with a tough period of my life. So part of this was changing my circumstances, but a big part of this was realizing that I'm actually in control, because I don't mean to sound like a bogus therapist or whatever. And I'm not suggesting I figured anything out yet. This is just my own experience. When you're in the throes of tilt, I think it's easy to absolve yourself of blame. Like, well, of course I'm tilted. I lost. Like, it's almost like this process takes you over and you're like, well, I couldn't do anything about it. And then the funniest thing is you're in the middle of tilt, you've dropped to 200 points. And then I'll sometimes text my friend, Peter, like, why am I playing so badly? You know why you're playing. So you know exactly what you're doing. You're playing like an idiot. you're not focused. You're making random moves. Why am I losing? So that's one thing, realizing that, yes, I actually can control my emotions, as painful as it is, at least their external appearance. And as corny as it sounds, when I started to try to do that, like not break a mouse with every loss, essentially, I found that if you can cut tilt out at the beginning, then it's much easier to fight it. Like the further along tilt gets, like my worst streams, what happens is I get tilted and I don't get out of it. I start getting negative, salty. People know all my salty phrase. Oh, he sees everything, we'll see what rating I am when I finish this stream. And I still say that from time to time. I'm not going to deny like I'm human. And the people who like watch my speedrun videos and then they watch my Twitch stream, they're like, whoa, wait, he's got emotion? Like he gets angry when he loses 10 games in a row? Yeah, and I always will. And I think it's unhealthy to pretend like you're some sort of, bot or robot that never shows natural human emotion. But I try to cut it out at the beginning. Like if I start feeling that tilt, that negativity, that's where I try to nip it in the bud. And I sometimes step away from the computer. I found that even 30 seconds away from the computer, just like washing your face, or a couple minutes of doing another activity, it works wonders. Like you come back a different person. I've also found that it's okay to be angry. Like it's okay to be angry, but channel it into motivation. So now what I do is I think, okay, if I'm on stream and I'm losing and chat is being like annoying, and I love you, chat, it's not calling anyone in particular. What I try to tell myself is, okay, I'm mad. I'm going to be mad, but I'm going to try to channel this into good play because I lose and they win, the trolls win, if I fall further into tilt and play badly. So I'm going to be mad, but I'm actually going to be mad and force myself to calculate even harder. So it sounds maybe easy. I think it sounds underwhelming. People want the silver bullet. Of course, I will still occasionally off stream, lose my temper, lose control. But it's been happening much more infrequently. And I'm replacing mice now, I think, once every year. And more often because they just get worn out, or rather than because I've thrown them across state lines in South Carolina. And to me, it's taken 5 years. Like this has been one of the hardest transformations. But it's not fake. Like I genuinely tilt less. I genuinely don't go crazy now when I lose. It's helped me a lot recover from losses. I think in Title Tuesday, if I lose early, I no longer lose 6 games. So I'm proud of like that transformation. It's possible because I was once like the ultimate tilter. Now I'm just a tilter. Maybe one day I'll be John Bartholomew, but probably by the time I'm 85 years old and I can't move my hand more than like 1 millimeter.
Well, we'll all be playing using Neuralinks at that
That's
time.
True.
So yeah.
on the planet Musk. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the insights. So channeling your dark side to calculate better. This is what I'll try to do as well when tilting. Okay, let's talk chess improvement a little bit more. We've already touched upon the subject the last time and didn't have enough time to discuss it thoroughly. We won't have enough time to discuss it this time as thoroughly as I would have wanted, but maybe part 3.
Hey, that's what part 3 is for.
Yeah, guys, if you want it, please do write a comment. But still, let's discuss at least in some depth this important topic. For me, very relevant. I'm currently on my quest to obtain the FM title, and yeah, it's hard, but I'm playing tournaments one after another, and a little bit.
How's
slowly.
It going?
Slowly gaining some
rating?
No, actually, I enjoy the process very much. I upload recaps of all my games, and nobody watches them practically, but I still do.
Darkness, my old friend.
And I like the process. And after each tournament, I gain like 10 or 20 rating points because in Asia rating deflation is crazy. So you play a person who is like 1500 rated and he plays with like 90% accuracy, and you have to grind it out in a crazy end game. This yesterday, for example, I played a 1500. He almost drew the game. Like I tricked him in a rook end game, but it was very, very, very challenging. So yeah, so this is a topic that really fascinates me, chess improvement, and I know that you not only are a great chess commentator and player, but also a coach. And you have some hot takes on the chess improvement stuff. So maybe you can share some of them.
Well, first of all, kudos to you on your chess journey and the recaps that I know that must be hard to make when you're tired or after you've lost. Not that that ever happens. But hot takes on chess improvement. I guess I could share maybe my most unconventional takes. Maybe because obviously when I do speedruns on my stream, like I get endless questions on chess improvement. And I hate to be blunt, but the majority of them, the question already indicates that like you're approaching this with the wrong attitude. Because the most common types of questions I get are, either like, what do you recommend for an 1800? Or what do you recommend for insert like 1660? It's like, okay. Or what opening do you recommend for black? What opening do you recommend? What book do you recommend? What course do you recommend? Insert super general question for super general level. I try to put myself in the shoes of the people asking that question. And I can understand like the impulse, like to think that there is a silver bullet or a single path that you take, or that there is an authoritative like set of materials that are going to push you forward in chess. But over time, I've evolved in my coaching philosophy, and I will continue to evolve. And I'm sure you still have tons to learn. But now I think it's much less about what you do, with a couple of exceptions, very important exceptions that I'll get to in a second, and more about like the quantity of material that you ingest. So like if you actually read about how the old masters trained, and I'm not talking old, Kramnik, I'm talking old Harry Nelson Pillsbury, who was the top player in the US at the end of the 19th century. He was a genius. I've been very interested recently in old chess history, Steinitz, Pillsbury, Capablanca. I've been reading large amounts of what they wrote. And yes, they knew how to write in the 1800s, believe it or not. They knew a lot more than that. And first of all, I was shocked to find that when, my thought about reading stuff written in the 1800s, sorry, this is a little off topic, but it's interesting, is Charles Dickens. Like, oh, this is going to be unreadable. But there's a reason why those books that you are forced to cram down your throat in school were unpopular when they were published. That's because they're crappy. No, just kidding. Nobody in the 1800s wanted to read Moby Dick for the exact same reason that we don't want to read Moby Dick. It's a boring-ass 1,000-page book written in unreadable language. If you read Steinitz, he's writing in basically modern language, and he sounds like someone living in modern times. So it's really interesting to read their insights into chess. But Pillsbury wrote that he was interviewed and asked, do you read chess books? And he said, I don't read chess books, which was even unusual by the standards of the 1890s. And he said that I just look at games. He said, the only way that I study is I analyze openings by myself and I look at tons of games. Like he was subscribed to all the magazines and just looks at games. Why is that like unusual? Like, why am I saying this? Why is that insightful? Because that guy reached like the top of the world. And if you look at his games, he was way ahead of his time. But you learn a tremendous amount just by taking like 10, 15 minutes. And now with engines, they offer a way that you can look at games like without a coach. Because in the old days, the reason you needed game annotation so badly is like, you don't have a roadmap, right? It's like you are next to a gold mine, but you don't have a mine shaft and you don't have the miners to extract the gold. Like, there's gold there, but it's like hypothetical. Like, I don't know how to mine for it. Or like someone gives you, I don't know, like the most expensive coffee beans in the world, but you don't have a grinder. Like, what, are you going to eat them? So nowadays with engines, you can basically, it's good to have annotations or a video, but you can basically understand the point of any move, no matter what level you are. Someone asks like, I have 30 minutes and I don't want to do a chessable course. What should I do? Go to chess.com events or Lead Chess broadcasts. Yes, I can say the L word. I'm allowed by the head of the chess mafia, Danny Wrench. And go look at the games for the US Championship this last round. Look at, Caruana versus Aronian from the previous round at the time of recording and, see the win that he missed. Ask yourself, can I identify the win that he missed? Why do I think he missed this move? What can Fabiano Caruana's blunder teach me about how to look for these moves? Make your own conclusions. So, like, you will find that if you spend a little bit of time following top tournaments and really engaging with those games, that will already make a big impact. Because I think the misconception people have is that every time that they sit down to train, they have to be training a very specific and very narrow aspect of their chess development. Like, I am doing puzzles so that I can find more pins in my games, or I am doing this opening so that I can reproduce this particular line. But a lot of chess training, it's a lot more broad than that, right? This general aspect of what is the correct move in this position, that voice in your head, right? Not just intuition, but a general sense of where the pieces belong, and a sense for the position. People get angry when this term is used, but the reason it's used is because it's vague. It's because it's developed not through a specific type of training, but just by exposing yourself to a very large amount of material. So that's sort of the first thing I'd say is when you're training, try to understand that unless you're doing something very specific, like you are actually training something very specific because you identified that weakness in your play. And with puzzles, for example, this applies too. Yes, you need to identify the theme of the puzzle, but you also need to ask more general questions like, how can I find this tactic in my game? Or how can I generalize this really cool combination I saw into its component parts? Like, what aspects of the position would have allowed me to see this tactic if I didn't know that it existed? The other big hot take I have is on openings, but I don't know if you want me to delve into it. Did that make sense?
Sure, of course. Very insightful about Pillsbury, by the way. Not the name that you hear often these days. I should check out his games. I've read, of course, Kasparov's series where he covered a little bit of his books. That's all that I know about Pillsbury.
Oh, yeah. He also played blindfold on like 20 boards while playing cards and reciting sets of numbers backwards. Like, all of this is chronicled. Super cool dude. Died tragically young. Will not say of what, but people can do their own reading. Okay. I am an opening contrarian. And one of the pieces of advice that is usually dispensed most fervently and that I dislike most fervently is like, you only need to concentrate on openings at rating X. And that rating seems to shift based on the chess guru that's sharing this information. I don't understand the logic of this advice, and I'm particularly passionate about it because I've made this mistake and have seen how much it held me back. In general, I think that you should start opening study basically, obviously not from the time that you learn the rules of chess. Like, there is a certain stage in your development where essentially all you need to do is solve puzzles and watch a few YouTube videos on like total rudiments. Like, you can play 1e4, develop your knights, develop your bishops in the general area of the center, try not to blunder your pieces, and throw pieces at your opponent's king and see what works. This, I think, is probably the hardest stage of chess development, particularly for adults. But if you solve enough puzzles and you watch enough instructional videos, you will get through this phase and you will see the other side at like 12 or 1300 chess.com rating. Once you hit that point, you need to start learning openings. And when I say that, I mean, yes, like you need to have a repertoire, you need to play the same thing every game. And it's not a bad idea to invest in like Chessable courses. And also to realize that if you decide on a particular opening and you play it, you can collect data that will then allow you to optimize that repertoire. And the impact that this could make on your chess development is unspeakable. Like, if people look at my speedrun games, I think an insight that you can make is that a lot of the games are won before move 15. Mm-hmm. And not because I've reacted to something surprising, but because I've just reproduced common theory or reacted in a common sense way to like a very offbeat move. This is, insofar as there exists a way to hack your chess progress, I think it is overemphasis of the openings, and I mean that in a positive sense. Now, does that mean you need to memorize like Yuri's French course if you're 1100? Obviously not. So what I would recommend for people to do, and I will expose a small secret for the course that I'm doing in the King's Indian, is use the Lead Chess. If you're playing on chess.com, you can use Opening Explorer to see what your opponents have played against you. You can use this website called openingtree.com, but I found that it doesn't load well if there's a lot of games. And the Lead Chess, leadchess.org has the entire database of games played at Lead Chess. That is a gold mine, because you should use that database over Chessable, because it contains the most popular move online, and those are the moves that you're actually going to face. Those are the moves that you need to focus on when you master your openings. And let's say you've chosen a repertoire, okay? You play 1e4 with white. I always recommend for people to play essentially dangerous offbeat lines. Like, unless you're 2200 plus, open Sicilian for white, I almost never recommend. Alapin, Smith-Mora, Grand Prix attack, so many more practical weapons. Choose something that's a little easier to learn. against e4, e5, you could look at the King's Gambit. Like Nepo's course is pretty darn sexy. Like there's a lot of stuff there. And I've seen it played successfully. People always ask, like, should I play this opening at this level? As though once you try it once, like there's a higher power that is forcing you to play it for the rest of your life. If you're in the process of formulating a repertoire, shop around. Like choose an opening, say, I'm going to spend 2 weeks playing this opening. I'm going to see what my results are, right? I'm going to invest a little bit of time learning it because that, learning is going to help you in general, even if you don't end up playing the opening. And then I'm going to make a decision and I'm going to try 3 different openings. I'm going to try the Benoni, King's Indian, and Queen's Gambit declined, right? If you're choosing an opening against d4. You spend 2 weeks trying each of them, playing 100 games in each, and then you see which one did I like more? Which one did I feel more comfortable in? Right? The point of a repertoire is you have to feel generally comfortable in the positions that you get. And I call BS on people who are like, but I don't know how to determine if I'm comfortable. Do you enjoy the process of playing the games? Sometimes you're going to get destroyed, whichever opening you play. But this happened to me. Like I played the Caro-Kann with black, even as a GM. I was searching for more blitz weapons. I didn't like it, right? I played it for like 6 months. The positions were too cramped. I moved on. And, now I'm trying out the Kalashnikov and different Sicilians. And, I'm doing the same thing. So I really think that people should de-emphasize the importance of not knowing openings as though it's some sort of sacred duty. Like the less you know in openings and the later you begin, the better. I think it's the opposite. And I think that memorizing openings is fantastic because you are then guaranteeing that you can play the right move. Wait, is that not a good thing now? Like, isn't that like the best, most efficient use of your time if you can memorize how to get a better position?
Yeah, not so much counterintuitive. I fully agree, by the way, that you just feel that this is your opening once you've tried it and played for some time. For example, you mentioned the King's Indian. I've been playing it a lot, so looking forward to your course. Definitely will buy it.
Nice.
So I just felt it once I tried it. I enjoyed the positions. The ensuing complications, the attacks. I knew that this is like my opening, and I have a very good score in the King's Indian. Although I've just recently started playing it. So yeah, I think this applies definitely to people at all levels.
Yeah, I mean, and there's like openings like the London, which are openings where you sacrifice originality. They say that about the city I live in, Charlotte. You sacrifice like creativity or culture for safety. It's a safe city, but it's got its cultural landmarks. The Chess Center, I don't know if it's one of them. But with the London, you buy like this package where you're like guaranteed to get an okay position, but you're stunting your development. And this is the other thing with openings is like if you play them properly, you expose yourself to different types of positions. And when you artificially channel the game into one particular direction, yeah, it might get you to like 1400. And if you're enjoying the positions, keep it as a weapon. But I always recommend that people branch out from like system openings. Or I've seen some like club players who swear by like the hippo or a particular set of moves that they play every game. I think that eventually that will stunt your growth and you should add like a main opening, not trying to take charge of anyone's chess development. You can play what you want. It's not my business. But play what works for you. And, I think openings are very important. I don't think that they should replace general chess development. And I think that, solving is still the main building block of chess progress at any level, just literally solving positions. And of course, there's the concept of reading and books. And, maybe you have a better view on this, Greg, but people have started to ask me about chess books as if anybody reads anymore. I don't know anybody who's like read a book in the last 3 years of any kind, but apparently these are like bibliophiles. So I'll let you take the conversation elsewhere. I know it's probably time to wrap up soon, but I'm happy to take one more question if you've got it.
Yeah, I'm the bibliophile, by the way. You can tell it by my pseudonym. But chess books, yeah, I don't read that often. Chessable courses are much more convenient, or analysis of games. Yeah, here I of course agree. although chess history books, some of them are amazing, and this is what I always love. One last question, before we go to the Blitz, the classical ending of the podcast. You yourself are going to play in the World Rapid Blitz in New York at the end of the year. As you already briefly mentioned, getting into top 8 would be good in Blitz to get into the knockout stages. For anyone who doesn't know, this is a reform that FIDE has introduced. Like many of FIDE reforms, it is not always loved by people, but we will see how it works out. So how do you prepare for this particular event? Because is there any difference? Like, this is an over-the-board Blitz tournament and Rapid tournament where the best of the best, crème de la crème, will participate. So does it differ? Does it introduce any changes into your training routine, this tournament? And if you can divulge the secrets, of course.
Oh, I mean, definitely. The biggest one is probably that I will need to institute a training routine for the first time in my life, more last 3 years. So I've slowly been kind of trying to shift the focus to serious Blitz, partly in light of the World Blitz. Now, I'm really excited. I'm a little bit nervous. I mean, I'll be starstruck. It'll be my first World Blitz championship. And I'm very lucky that it's so close. The travel will not be exhausting. From just a purely personal standpoint, I'm excited to see all these top guys in action and to breathe in the atmosphere of the tournament. And it's one of the first times I'm playing a serious event and I feel no external pressure. I feel like now with the atmosphere, I feel like there are certain elements who are watching eagerly, expecting me to go perfect score. I've already, shared my 2 cents on that. I'm not putting pressure on myself. I think that, obviously I'm under no illusions that my 3,200 rating or whatever is going to carry over. This is a completely different game. This is 3+2. There's a rapid component. And, there's the psychological component. Like when I played Fabi over the board a couple months ago, it is a completely different feeling. It's like you're looking over and Fabiano Caruana is at the other end of the table. That's why I laugh when people suggest that for a mere mortal like me, who might not be used to playing the Sinkfield Cup every year, yeah, it's kind of intimidating to be in a time scramble when you've seen the other guy win 100 time scrambles against 2,800 players. Dealing with that pressure will be one big component that I'll have to conquer in New York. As for my preparation, physical prep, I'm trying to get some more rest, just dial back my other commitments coming in. Openings will be probably the biggest concrete X factor, coming in with a lot of weapons and stuff that I feel comfortable with. So I'll probably start that, 2 days before the tournament, like I did before the US Championship. So I'm definitely a procrastinator in that regard, and also tactical sharpness. Just from my observations of the World Blitz in previous years, if you're not seizing the one mover opportunities that the top players give you, you've got no chance. And I think my best chance is in the tactical arena. I know that objectively my top skill is calculation. So if that's not sharp, and if I'm not seeing, the 2-3 mover combinations, then I've got absolutely no shot, because these players, they outclass me, they know more than me, they're in better form. So I'm going to try to devise kind of a set of opening weapons that at least get the kind of position where I have a chance, where I feel comfortable. And the main thing I'm telling myself is just to trust myself. I'm going to try to trust the voice in my head that I referenced earlier. And probably that will lead me astray in a couple games. Of course, I want to avoid tilt. And I'm playing this from a perspective of enjoyment. If I do well, I'll be proud of it. I'll put this in my memoirs. But if I don't, I'm trying to frame this to myself and giving myself those pep talks already that this is not life or death. This is a Blitz tournament. There will be other Blitz tournaments. And I have a feeling that I'm going to have a blast. I will work my ass off every game. But I'm already tempering people's expectations. I'm not expecting to do, top 3 just because I'm number 3 Blitz on chess.com. That's just because Firouzja doesn't play anymore. But it'll be fun. I'll do my puzzles. I'll do my openings. And I'll try to just come in fresh with, a hunger to play some good games. And I want to prove Kramnik wrong. I will be. That's lighting a fire under me for sure. It definitely is.
Yeah. I hope you get a good night's sleep before those games. Yes, to stay sharp. You see, guys, how important it is, the psychological aspect. Daniel talks about it a lot because it matters. Chess is not about like knowing how to move your pieces, but also the knowing how to manage your psyche. So yeah, thanks for sharing, and it will be a fascinating event. Definitely, I will be rooting for you. So let's top it off with a blitz game as usual. Will you give me the time odds?
Sure. Chess.com is your preferred vehicle of receiving your punishment.
It is, but yesterday I had a podcast with Wei E, and we didn't find this button to how to add seconds to your opponent's clock.
Sure.
Somehow
let's use Lichess then.
It disappeared. So yeah, let's use Lichess if you're okay with that.
1 second. Let me just give Danny Wrench a call. Ask for. Just kidding. Let's use Lichess.
Yeah. Okay.
Great
Great talk, by the way. As always, you are very eloquent.
Likewise, I really appreciate, that I've been in podcasts where they have a set of questions and they're just like, okay, one question, I'll respond next question. And I really appreciate that you go with the flow, you follow up on interesting threads, and it always makes for an interesting conversation. So that's why, it's people ask, okay, why Mustreader? And they have a hard time understanding. It's like not about the subscriber count. You do really good, honest work, letting people talk and just going with the flow of the conversation. I really, really appreciate that. So this is really fun. I'm still going to beat your ass, but
yeah.
Or
okay.
not.
I'll challenge you to a game and standard.
Yeah, so 30-second game probably, and then I'll add time to your clock.
Yeah, sure. 1 sec.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, 23:03.
Right.
Damn girl. Let me
okay.
add the requisite seconds. There we go.
Okay. Let's go.
All right. Let's rumble.
Last time I played the Elkine. Okay. This time a different one.
This time I'm coming with my weapons.
Yeah. Okay. Always mix up these lines. Okay.
Yep, this one.
Okay. I think there was something like this. Oh, G5.
I had a Title Tuesday game, 2 weeks ago with Kravtsov. He went 95.
This is where my knowledge ends.
Same here.
G5 is nice. Okay, let's rotate. Wow, you really want to destroy me. Yeah.
I woke up and chose violence.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, let's just develop. Forgot about that. That's what the cool kids recommend doing in the opening.
Yeah. Okay. Probably I'll regret this, but I still want to take.
Okay, as the Dalai Lama said, a pawn is a pawn.
Sure.
I got 18 seconds to mate you.
Yeah. It may be more than enough.
Take my pawns, girl.
Something tells me I shouldn't, but maybe I should.
Have that conversation with yourself every day.
Thinking for too long. Should be a move.
It's hard to find a move.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think you have a move, but it's not the
It's not trivial.
definition of paradise. I'll give you another 30 seconds.
Okay, thanks.
And in my infinite generosity.
Okay.
Perpetuate the suffering.
Okay, let's do this. Definitely not not I should have gone
I
for.
see
But...
queen g4, queen f6. Very tricky.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Let's go here. Can I do this maybe?
Oh, nice.
It's nothing special. Oh God.
This is the part where I collapse.
The vaunted.
Okay.
Ooh, very close. Once again,
Wow.
that was a great fight.
Thanks a lot.
I thought it was over,
did
but then I
find the
spotted.
move.
Yeah, I think maybe queen h3. I thought queen h3 on move 17 keeps you in the game, but
Queen h3.
yeah, queen h3 is actually not that bad for white. It's queen f7. It's I could have, instead of knight g3 check, I could have taken on g4 right away.
Oh, nice. So instead of queen f7, queen h3, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but your attack was very in a practical game. it's
Whoa.
like.
But my queen sack was on
unstoppable.
sound. My queen sack was on sound, but it's some computer line. Vladimir Naroditsky probably would have found it entitled Tuesday, but I mean.
So
okay.
queen g4, and then I somehow managed to get a decent position, maybe, but
Yeah, you have to sack the queen back anyways. We'll leave that for the viewers to unpack.
yeah, analyze it, guys. Follow Daniel's advice. Analyze, maybe not my moves, but
Maybe not
Daniel's
mine,
moves.
but
Okay, thanks, man. Again, guys, looking forward to your comments. I hope we can make part 3 happen. Maybe after that World Blitz with some insights by the sensei. And good luck in that one.
thank you so much, Greg. This is really fun. Looking forward to part 3, and thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, bye-bye. See you in the next one.